Well, hi there. Okay, today I'm going to show you how to do my chain lattice stitch. This is one of my older stitches, and it has a really cool effect. So you can see it quite nicely, exactly what stitch looks like on this yarn. Like this, and that's what the other side looks like. And then on a variegated yarn, you don't see the pattern as easy, but still it has the same look, and it has the loft. Like this one has a really nice loft to it. As you can see, if I do it from the side, this one has a really, really nice loft to it too. And the back. So there gives you an idea, if you do it in different yarns, what it's going to look like. It looked to me like a chain lattice. So very cool. And from the other side, it looks really cool too. So this was done in an ice yarn, magic yarn. And this yarn, and I'm on a 5/8 inch gauge. This is the Purple Nifty Knitter Loom, 48 pegs, and it's 5/8 inch gauge. Anyway, the yarn I'm using is Mary Maxim Marvelous in the color Waterford, and it's a number 5 bulky. And the other one was a bulky too, but it just shows you what it looks like in a different yarn. So we'll look at this. I did a chain cast on, and then I just did one row of owl eye, and then I went right into the stitch. And if you want to see owl eye, I have lots of owl eye videos on my channel, so you'll see what owl eye is. But you could probably get away without even doing that. The stitch doesn't curl. Like this just doesn't curl at all. And on this one, I did nothing. I just did an end peg. I didn't do anything. On this one, I'm doing an owl eye border because I wanted to have a little bit of a border on this one. But it doesn't really need anything. It doesn't curl. And it knits up really nice and fast. So I did, because I'm doing the owl eye border, I did the 2 pegs here together. So I marked them together, and I marked them over here together. But as I said, you won't need to do that. It doesn't curl this stitch. It works nice in the round too, but it does have a completely different look in the round. Maybe I can show you better on this one. Like we're getting this, we're going back and forth and back and forth, which is why we're getting a lot of the look in here. So when we're going around in a circle, it can't come back and forth. It keeps going one way, one way, one way. So instead of having the motion come this way, and then when it's coming this way, it's going this way, and we're coming this way. So we have sort of like a little L here. Going the other way, we have a little L looking thing here. We're going all one way. The motion all looks like this. So you have rows of that stacked up, and it's still a really cool look. It looks nice and works good for hats. It has a lot of loft to it. So you can use it in the round, but it won't match. It won't look the same. If you're on a yarn like this and you do it, it will look more like it matches because you can't see the pattern as much in a yarn like this, but you do see the loft, and it has a loft in the round too. Okay, so let's get started. So I've done my end pegs and I'm ready to do my stitch. Now you can do this on an even loom or an odd loom. It really doesn't matter. You're working 2 pegs at a time, and you're working these 2 and then these 2 and then these 2 and then these 2 like this. So it doesn't really matter. It can be even or odd. Okay, so we take the working yarn and we're going to put it over our peg 1. We're going to call this peg 1 and 2 that we're working with. We're going to put it over peg 1, in between, behind peg 2, and then we're going to come back over both 1 and 2. So you see we'll have 3 bits of yarn on peg 1 and only 2 bits of yarn on peg 2, and we're going to knit them both off. Peg 1, we're going to come over to peg 2, knit it off. Now our working yarn is here. We're going to go, we're going to call this peg 1, this peg 2. We're going to go in front of peg 1, behind peg 2, over them both. Okay, sorry, we're getting a little low in the camera. And we're going to keep it on the loose side. We don't want it to get really, really tight because it won't be as lofty for one thing, and because it will start to get hard to knit over for another thing. Okay, I'm having trouble keeping this in the camera here. Okay, a little bit awkward. Okay, so we're going to go in front of peg 1, behind peg 2, and in front of them both. And as you see, I'm pretty loose here. These are nice and loose, so they're just going to lift over. Okay, we're on peg 1. Go in front of 2. Oh, we're on whatever peg we are. We're going to 1 and 2. For a minute, I started thinking of another stitch. We're going in front of 1, behind 2, front of them both. So the peg we're at is just the peg we start with. The next peg is peg 1 and 2. So front of 1, behind 2, and in front of them both, and knit them over. Yeah, I was doing, just before I started doing this, I was doing that other stitch. So there you go. And I was thinking that to myself. Okay, so we're here in front of peg 1, behind peg 2, front of them both. Okay, just like that. Then when you get to the end, no matter what kind of end you have to do, you're going to have an end peg that is kind of left here without being able to come back and do that on it. So I'm just going over it like that in a U-wrap, knitting it off, and then I'm going to my peg. And if this was your last peg, you'd just be going to your last peg, but I'm doing an owl eye border, so I'm just going to do my owl eye border. I really liked it with this yarn, having the border. So there you go. And so I just come back like that. And if I didn't mention it, this is a stitch video, so I'm not doing a whole project. I'm just doing a video to show you the stitch, but I gave you the tips. I was giving you the tips of how to start it, and that you can do any kind of side you want, or you can do the side that I'm doing. But okay, so now that we've done that, there's the peg that didn't have as many wraps on it, but this time we're going over in front of it, behind peg 2, over them both. So now it's going to have the 3 wraps on it. And we're on here. We go over 1, 2, and just like that. And I'll just stop for a minute and we can look here. So you see that even though that one, the last peg there, we couldn't do the full thing, it still looks good. It blends right in here at the side. So all it needed really was just that one little wrap on it. Okay, so here we are, working yarns here. Next peg is 1 and 2. Front of 1, behind 2, front of them both. And knit it off. So when you get going, you can see it's a pretty fast movement. Very easy to do. Has its own kind of unique look. And then we're at the last peg, so I'm just going to do the U-wrap over it and then go over to my end pegs. And I'm just doing an owl eye end peg, so I just wrap it like this. And that's all there is to it. We can do one more row and then take a look at it. We'll have more work. So over peg 1, wrapping peg 1 and 2 like this, knitting it over. It's a really fun stitch to do. It just goes so fast. Doesn't have any purls in it. Doesn't curl at all. The motion you're doing is very much like one of the figure 8 methods, but wrapping the second stitch like that just gives you all this loft. And I'm just doing my wrap over that, and I already had the wrap on here. And I'm just going to set it up for coming back. I like to always make sure that it's secured at the side and that I'm ready to start doing the stitch of the pattern. Okay, so now we can have a better look at it because we have more work here, and I'll just stretch out my stitches. Stretch them out widthwise. There, so you can have a good look at them. And get that in the camera. I like it with this yarn. And then we'll get the loft. Here you can really see the loft. A lot of depth and texture to this stitch. And then your other side looks like this. So it's actually quite nice. There's a lot of loft on the back too, and doesn't curl at all. Okay, so there you go. I hope you enjoyed this stitch, and I hope you have lots of fun with it. It's really quite easy. I'm going to put it in the easy beginner category because I think anyone could learn to do it. It's not much harder than doing E-wrap or owl eye, that's for sure. Okay, so until next time, bye.